So far, we've taken a look at creating navigation forms to move around our database. We've created a reference form in our employee directory, and we've created a form that looks up orders that include a particular product using the form wizard and a subform control. Now let's create a form that can be used to input records into our data tables. We'll create a form that can be used to capture information about new customers. And we'll start it by going to the Create tab, and in the Forms group, I'll choose Form Design. The first thing we want to do is connect it to a data source. So I'm going to switch over to the property sheet here, and in the Data tab, for the record source, I'm going to use the drop-down list and choose Customers. That'll connect this form to the Customers table. Next, we can add the fields from the table into our form by switching over to Add Existing Fields here, and I'm going to click on the customer ID. I'm going to shift-click on Email down here at the bottom to select them all, and then I'll click and drag to drop them all in my form at once. Let's go ahead and rearrange these fields a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and move Customer ID up here to the top. They're all selected, so let me deselect them. Now I'll move Customer ID up here to the top. I'm going to get rid of the labels here for the last name. I'm going to change the first name label to just read name. And then I'm going to move the last name field over to on the right side of the first name and make sure it's aligned. There we go. I'm going to make both of these wider. So I'm going to click on the first one here and then shift click on the second one, and then I can drag them both wider at the same time. Let's go ahead and move these over. Next, I'm going to move the email address and put that below the name. So I'll click there and drag that one up. Drop it right here. And I'll make that wider as well. Then I'm going to put my phone number right below it. And so I'm going to click on that one and move that over to about there. And once again, I'll make that wider. Let's actually move it down one with the arrow key. Then we're going to put the address below the phone number. Let's go ahead and move it to here. And I'll make that one wider. Then we're going to have city, state, and zip code all on one line. And I don't need labels for those. So I'll select these labels, press delete, and I'll move these into position. There, I'll make my city a little wider. We'll put state right after it. And we'll put the zip code after that. And just so everything's aligned, maybe I'll space these out a little bit more. Okay, so now all my fields are in position. Let's change some of the properties for this form. I'm going to select this button here between the two rulers to jump to the properties for my form. I'll just double click on that there. And you can see it jumps to form properties here. I'm going to go over here to the Format tab, and I'm going to change the caption to Add a New Customer. I'm going to come down here, and we're going to add in a picture into the background. I'll click over here where it says No Picture. I'll click on the Build button. And this time we'll browse out to our exercise folder in the Chapter 4 folder. And this time I'm going to choose this customer image. We'll go ahead and say OK. And I'm going to attach it to the bottom left-hand corner using the Picture Alignment property here. Let's go ahead and go over to the other tab where we can make this a pop-up form. I'll change from pop-up from no to yes, and we'll change modal from no to yes as well. Then we can go to the Data tab here and find a property called Data Entry. It's right down here. Right now that's set to no. I'm going to change it over here to yes. What this is going to do is it's going to create this form as a data entry only form. It's not going to allow us to view the existing records that are already in my customers table. It'll only allow us to add new records. So let's go ahead and save our form at this point. I'll press Control S on the keyboard, and I'm going to call this Add Customer. Go ahead and say OK, and then we'll check out the results. I'll change my view here, and now I've got this new form here that's called Add Customer. Let's go ahead and actually get rid of the navigation buttons down here on the bottom and the record selector as well. I'll right-click on it, go into Design View, in the Format tab, and we'll turn off the navigation buttons and the record selectors. OK, one more time, I'll press the Save icon here, and check out the results. And there we go. We have a nice, clean Add Customer form here. Now we need to add a couple of buttons that actually control how this form operates. Now at this point, we've turned our form into a data entry point. Values that we type into these text boxes will populate a new record in our customers table. But because data entry and access gets saved on the fly, we need to actually be a little bit cautious in how we handle this form. There's no save changes when it comes to data entry. Simply closing the form commits any changes that we've typed in into the underlying data table. So when we close this form, what we're really doing is saving any changes to the data table and closing the form. If we simply want to back out of any data entry, say we've started entering in some data and we want to back out, we first need to clear the values that might have been typed in before we close the form. So let's create a couple of buttons that will accomplish these tasks so that our end users won't have to worry about it. Once again, I'll return to Design View by right-clicking and going to Design View. I'm going to go up here and grab a button control, and I'll add it down into my form. That'll start up the button wizard. Now this first button is going to be used to save the data to the data table and close the form. Now in this case, all we need to do is go to Form Operations and say Close Form. the act of closing the form will actually save the data at the same time. Let's go ahead and say next. We can choose text here. And I'm going to change this from just close form to save and close. We'll go ahead and say next and finish. So there's my first button. Let's go ahead and add one more to cancel. I'll click on my button here, come down into the form, and drop it down. Now this button actually needs to delete anything that we've typed in first before it closes the form. So in this case, I'm going to go over here to record operations, and we're going to say delete record. That'll clear out anything that we might have typed in. Let's go ahead and say next. And this time I'm going to choose the text option, and instead of delete record, I'm going to type in cancel. Let's go ahead and say next, and then finish. Now we don't just want this button to delete the record. We want it to delete the record and close the form. So we need to add one more step to this macro. So with it still selected, I'll go over here to the Event tab. The onClick event is what the wizard just built for us. I'll click on Build, and these are all the steps that the wizard made for us. But all we need to do is scroll to the end down here, come down here and add a new action called Close Window. And we're going to leave the window type blank. So it's just going to close the active window, which is the Add Customer form. Let's go ahead and close this macro, and we'll save our changes. Let's go ahead and fix the styling a little. I'm going to shift click so I get both buttons at the same time. We'll go to Format and change this Use Theme to No. And then I'm going to go over here to the Arrange tab, and I'm going to make them the same size by going to Size and Space to Widest. Now we can go ahead and click on the form, and I'll select these two buttons, and I'll use my arrow keys to nudge them into position. I'll move them right over here. Okay, so that completes our form design. Let's go ahead and save our changes one more time. We'll switch our view to the form view, and we'll test it out. So let's go ahead and try entering in a customer. I'm going to type in the customer ID of 3000, and I'm going to enter in my name here, Adam Wilbert. Let's go ahead and press Save and Close. Now let's go ahead and add in another customer. I'll go back to the form. This time I'm going to type in customer 3001, and this person's name is going to be, oh no, I made a mistake. Now, if I don't want to enter in Mr. I made a mistake into my database, what I want to do is press the cancel button down here. Now I've tried to enter in two customers, one I wanted to save and one I wanted to clear out. Let's go ahead and check our customers table to make sure that everything worked properly. I'll double click on it to open it, and then I'll press this button down here to jump to the end. And sure enough, I see my record here, number 3000, but I don't see 3001, Mr. I made a mistake. So data entry tasks don't have to be a chore. With a little thought into the layout of a data entry form, your end users will be able to quickly and accurately capture the information that you need.